Hello everybody! Can you all guess what this is? Hey Carl? No worries, no worries. It's quite tricky with a Raspberry Pi. I've gone back to a PC at the moment, but yeah, it's quite tricky using a Raspberry Pi. But it is possible to do. It is possible to do, and you do learn loads doing it. So you've got to guess what the Galaxy is. It's pretty obvious, this one, but yep. Pig's Insight. Yes. Yeah, Pig's Insight is a brilliant program. Really good. Game changer. And I wish I understood it, but it's yeah, it's really good. But yeah, Pig's Insight's absolutely fantastic. So guess the Galaxy. Okay, who's going to do the first? M81. It does have a 1 in it. It's not M81 though. It's a massive galaxy though. It's a huge galaxy. So yeah, you're on the right lines, I think. So this is I would say it's first light, but it's not first light. It's second light with the SV Bony 105cc camera, and I thought, as I just started imaging with it, that I'd quickly come inside and stream a little bit for you guys to see. So guess the Galaxy. Who's going to take another guess? And I have to say, this is really interesting. I'm on an EQ5 Pro mount, which is guiding. It's M31. Yes, Carl, it's M31. Well done. I have never ever had guiding figures like this. These are amazing. They're really good. Really good guiding figures. So this is the imaging period, and then we've got a bit of dithering, and then it resets itself. I mean, I've never had guiding figures like this on this mount. It's really good. So the plan, let's have a look at the imaging plan. So tonight we're doing 100 exposures, and I wasn't 100% sure what gain to put on, so I kind of selected 200 and an offset of 25, and then this has got an auto stretch on, so if I just take that off, if I clear it, there we go, that's better. So I think it might be slightly blown out in the middle, I'm not sure, so we'll have to see. But I can actually see, I don't know if you guys can because of the YouTube compression, but I can see some of the details on the Galaxy already. It's green because of the Bayer pattern on this particular camera, but it seems to be working really well, and it's cooled down to -5 at the moment, and I've got the automatic meridian flip, which the other day when I've got about 4 hours on this already, so I'm hoping to get another 3 or 4 hours tonight, and then that hopefully will all stack together and look pretty good. So yeah, I've still got my head torch on. I'll take that off. Here we go. I've been trying really hard to learn how to get my mount to park at the end of the sequence, and in APT what I did was put a second event here, and then you can't actually see it. Can I scroll across? But basically there's the park script, which is just hashtag and then park, and I'm hoping that when this 100 exposures finishes, I'll be able to, it should just hopefully just park the mount with any luck, but we'll see. There we go, so it's just doing a quick pause and now it should dither. Let's have a look at the guiding. There we go, so it's just done a bit of dithering there. Am I using filters? That's a really good question. Yes, I am. I'm using a broadband CLS filter, which is an SV Boni CLS filter. So it's kind of, I'm not sure whether I should have put a better filter in or a different filter in. Not that there's anything wrong with the SV Boni one, it's fine, but it doesn't have any IR cut on it. It's just a CLS, so city light suppression. But if I go back, it's actually not looking too bad. The only thing with CLS is I've noticed that all of the images come out blue because of the nature of the filter, and you have to then use a color balance when you do your first stretch. Oh, you've got the same one. Cool. Yep. They're good filters. They really are, and hopefully it should be pretty good on this target, because Andromeda is very much a broadband target. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see what this camera can do. The APT driver, the native driver's only just gone into this version here of APT, so this is one of the beta versions. Oh, you're using mirrorless. Yep. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm bought all 6 where we are. It's tricky though. I think you can still get good results. I mean, in any sort of light polluted area, I guess the main thing is to do your best to block the light from getting into your scope. And I use a big wooden board which I can position so that the local street lamps are kind of blocked. But I guess narrowband and a mono camera would be the way forwards. But with the amount of clear skies we get, I think one-shot colour is probably the best way for me at the moment. But I do like the L-Enhance filter I've got, which is pretty good at filtering out on emission nebula. It's really quite good. So just had another image. Let's have a quick look. It's really good. The stars are looking great here. I'm really pleased with these guiding figures. I mean, for my EQ5 mount, this is really good. It's not an HEQ5, this is an EQ5 Pro. So it's yeah, they're really good. Really pleased with that. Oh, well, yeah, it's always down to finances. Absolutely. So just looking at this, hopefully this should be running all night and then park in the early hours of the morning. So this is M31. This is Andromeda, and you can, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's difficult to tell because I've only got you guys in a little preview here so I can see the chat, but there's also the secondary sort of galaxy bit there and then the main galaxy, and you can just see the outline of some of the outer parts of the galaxy. It's green because of the Bayer pattern on the camera. So there's 2 green pixels for every red and every blue, and then when you color balance this out, it should even that out. I'm going for 180 second exposures. I'm kind of experimenting with this camera. It's in terms of gain, I'm going for 200 and offset 25. They're kind of just random figures I chose. I think the core might get a little bit blown out, but we'll just have to see when I process this. And the filter, which we were talking about earlier, that's just a CLS filter, city light suppression filter, which I'm using tonight, just a cheap and cheerful SV Bony one. And this is the first object that I'm shooting with the 405cc camera, which is the SV Bony cooled 405 camera. There we go, so another exposure's just come through. The stars are looking great. So it looks like dithering went a bit mad there, and then it brings it back down again. I have this weird thing with VNC that if I stretch it, it then rescales, so I have to keep it slightly smaller so that you can see the full screen. So there you go, so that's the dither period there, and then the mount sorts itself out again, and then but the guiding figures are, I don't think I've ever had guiding figures like this on this with this particular mount, so I'm really pleased with how this is going. If you've got any questions or anything, just whack them in the chat and I'll attempt to answer them if I can, or I'll make note of them and maybe try and answer them after I come off this stream. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with how the stars look. They're really good. I didn't tell you what the scope is. Telescope. So the actual telescope I'm using tonight is my 130 PDS, which is a Newtonian, and I'm really enjoying using that at the moment. It's just really good fun, and it's light, and it's got a good focal length, 650mm focal length, so it's good for quite wide field objects, which is quite cool. Did I do anything with the guiding to achieve the guiding? I didn't, no. All I did, if you look in EQ mod, the pulse guide settings here, I increased those to full, so the right ascension rate and the declination rate, I just whacked those on full. Everything else is left in stock in EQ mod, and then in PhD2 I can't remember which part of the sky I calibrated on. I have a feeling it was near Vega, I think, which isn't the best. It's quite high Vega at the moment, but normally you would calibrate at an object that's lower down, so it's got more movement. But it just seems to work really well at the moment. I'm really pleased with. I mean, that's normally that would read 1.3 or something like that for the pixel size, and I've never seen it deliver that. So normally I would cheat and I would change the scale to something like that, so that you get this lovely flat line and then your dither period, but there's no need. I'll just go back to there. So that's really good. Are you shooting as well? Yeah, it's good when it all works. It's really good. Which target are you on tonight, Carl? Can you see there's a line across that one? That will be a satellite going across. Just over that bit. NGC 6823. I don't know that. I'm going to Google it. Oh wow, that looks amazing. That looks really cool. Did I give up with Astroberry? No. That's a really good question. At the moment, the Linux driver for the SV-Bony 405cc camera has not been integrated into the build for Astroberry. I would like to use this camera with that build. I use PC and I use the Raspberry Pi, and I would like to use potentially to maximize time to run 2 rigs, and until the Linux driver is integrated into the Astroberry build, I can't use this camera with Astroberry, but it is one of the things I want to do, and I've still got my Altair cameras apart from the one I sold to get this, and I'm going to potentially use one of those Altair cameras with the Raspberry Pi. It's just tonight because I really wanted to get first light on this particular camera, so I'm using APT and a small PC. But Astroberry, once you've learnt it and got around all of the weird, you kind of got your head around it really, the learning curve, then it's really good. It's absolutely brilliant. How are we looking on guiding? Guiding is amazing. That's almost as good as my AZEQ6. Almost, not quite. That's really good guiding. Very happy. Okay, so that's a bit of Andromeda through a 130 PDS on an EQ5 Pro mount with the SV Bony 405 cooled camera and a CLS city light suppression filter, and it seems to be working really well. Would I the SV Bony 405cc, the journey to get to this point was quite tough for the SV 405cc, because when they first released it there were lots of issues with the drivers. The drivers have now matured and it will work with Nina. It will work with some Linux programs, although I've not tested those. It will now work with APT with this particular beta release, the 403 beta, and you have to install the native driver and then it will work. So Nina, SharpCap, APT, and eventually I'm hoping it will be on Astroberry as well. Would I recommend it? I think give it a few more months myself. I think this time next year, when it's really settled as a product, but we'll see if this image looks any good, whether it's worth upgrading. I think, is it the 533, which is the square sensor camera as well, is very popular at the moment, and there are ZWO versions and there are Altair versions and various others. But that seems to be a really good camera, and it's the correct side of £1,000, which is still a lot of money, but it's a very good camera, and that's a cool camera as well. Let's go back into some guiding figures. Okay, still very good. So we've only seen one satellite so far. So with any luck, this should, if it stays clear of course, it should hopefully run all the way through until 4:30 it says there, but I guess it depends on how all the weather goes and everything. What is my seeing like? Well, what a really good question. I think, judging by my guiding, I think the seeing must be pretty good tonight. There's no wind outside at all, and it's just crystal clear, although the weather was meant to be slightly cloudy. Let's have a look at clear outside. Let's see what it says. So it says in my current location that, okay, it's going to get very cloudy at about 1 AM. So I suspect I'm only going to get a couple of hours tonight, which is a bit of a shame. But now is the best time, which is probably why my guiding figures are quite good, because it's so clear. And my skies where I am at the moment, I live in a Bortle 6. I think it's a Bortle 6, according to Clear Outside. Typical sort of suburb conditions, really. Where are we? Let's have another look. So what does it report? Yeah, so I'm in Sky class is Bortle 6, where I am. Am I anywhere near Suffolk? No, I'm in Luton, so kind of in the middle. Better than Manchester. Manchester's tricky. I studied in Manchester, and I had some Portuguese friends, and my friends had a translation book, and in their translation book it described rain, and in a Portuguese translation book it said, like the rain in Manchester. I kid you not. So even in Portugal they are producing, to describe the word rain, they're using Manchester. So I sympathise that Manchester's skies can be tricky, but to be honest, with how dry it's been, I think rain is a very nice thing at the moment. So yeah. Let's go and have a look. It's kind of a bit boring when it all works. Normally it's, I mean, I'm delighted it all works, but these stars, unless I'm just not seeing anything in particular, but these stars are looking really good. We've only seen one satellite, and everything's working. It's kind of a bit weird when it all works. Normally, when I started the Astroberry project a while ago, for my trusty old Raspberry Pi, which is here, I didn't realise that I would learn so much from doing this. So I've learned Linux. I also learned that my EQ5 Pro needed a software update, and I think that software update has really helped. The stability of the, so on the actual mount there's a little box that also requires a software update, and I updated that, and I've not, touch wood, I've not had any problems since I updated the mount. In fact, it's been absolutely brilliant. So and that is all triggered because I did the Raspberry Pi stuff. So if you want to learn, I mean, it's a really steep learning curve, but if you want to learn some stuff and you're happy to have lots of failed evenings, then go down this route. But it will reward you with, I mean, it still is a pain sometimes, but it will reward you with some just to increase your knowledge of Linux and things, which I know very little of, but it was just really good. Yeah, it really is worth it in the end. It's well worth doing these things. I mean, that's what this hobby is. It's kind of it's a learning hobby, isn't it? It's about each time you're striving to get better, and that's sort of the journey. Right, I think I'm going to pack everything up and leave the telescope to do its thing. So thank you all for joining, and Carl, you're absolutely right. I could not agree more. It's really important. It doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter how young or how old. It's so important just to try new things and keep trying to learn stuff. It's so important. It really is. So yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter what your age. It's really good. And this, you don't have to buy a hugely heavy mount or anything like this. This setup here, so this mount, I got it smashed up and I fixed it up. This scope was just a cheap and cheerful scope. It's a 130 PDS, which is utterly brilliant. And then I added guiding and a few other things. So this is a relatively cheap setup. Can I just say that some of you have just said some really lovely things about watching videos and stuff, and I just want to say thank you all for watching. It's just it was something I started at the beginning of lockdown, and it was kind of to keep me sane, and also because it's such a steep learning curve, and I only do it for a bit of a laugh. Obviously don't make any money or anything from this. I just want to enjoy it and have fun, and I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who does watch these videos and does contribute. It makes, it's just a bit of fun, and it is a difficult hobby, and it is flipping expensive, yes, but it is possible to do it a bit cheaper than spending the entire kid's inheritance. But yeah. No, I'm very grateful to you all, and thank you very much for joining. So I'm going to put this to bed, and have a good evening, everyone. Hope you all have clear skies, and we'll see you all. Well, I won't see you all because it's kind of one way. You'll see me hopefully in the next video soon. So take care, everybody. Bye now.